Welcome back to guys. It's time for another manga volume review. Welcome once again. It's going to be on Touge Oni, which is a new series that I hadn't really heard much about until I got it. This is brought to you by Yen Press. This is the first volume and is actually a pretty decent story. Strange beginning, I will say that. The first chapter was a little mind twisting, but then it continued pretty well. I really enjoyed it. Adventure based, and definitely magic otherworld stuff as well, so gods and demons as well. So before anything though, if you haven't checked out Yen Press, check out Yen Press. Yen Press is a great company that has been releasing a lot of stuff lately. In fact, if you go to yenpress.com, they have a huge umbrella of other companies under them, as well as Yen On, J Novel Club, Easy Press, and others. So they're doing great stuff, releasing a manga, manhwa, webtoons, light novels, you name it. They're releasing it, and they're bringing so much from across the seas to the US. So give them some love. They do so much by sending me copies for me to review for you guys. So thank you so much. Also, subscribe to my channel, give some love, comment, like, and share. That helps tremendously, and I try my best to release more and more of these reviews, which I'm back on a groove, so hopefully I continue reviewing more and more of these. So let me know which one's your favorite so far, and please do like and share this video. It does help tremendously. Okay, volume 1. Now volume 1 is obviously introduction always to the story, but it did really well. I believe it's only 3 chapters in total. I could be wrong, but there's 3 chapters, and then there is a kind of like an extra short chapter at the end. So the first chapter is them becoming a group. So older man, younger boy are together with a older woman, and they come into this village, and the little girl is basically living a life of lies. And I'll explain it away, but essentially her village has a thing where they choose a person every year that's going to be the sacrifice for the next year, and they basically have to live a whole year knowing that the following year they're going to be the sacrifice to their god. Now she is going to be that. She's a little girl. Let's put that already into motion. A little girl, you can see her in the cover, right? So she knows she's not going to see, I think, her 13th birthday, and she just lives her life, and she always goes into the mountains and thinks about how she wants to go into the capital and see the capital for the first time, and she always thinks about all these things that she won't ever be able to do because she's the next sacrifice. Well, these guys show up and tell her there's other options, and essentially she ends up talking a lot to the older woman, and the older woman takes her to the sacrificial area where the god is. And here is where kind of we take off the bandage of reality, and essentially the gods that are gods can't do really much. They just sit in their thrones, and the powers they had before, which is changing climates and all that, they don't have it. So all these sacrifices, all this worshiping that's going on for these gods are really just for them to stay alive and powerful in their own sense, but at the end of the day they're just glorified giants. That's basically what it is, what they are. So he ends up like giving one of his powers to the older woman, and the little girl jumps into it, and she goes into like different dimensions. But essentially what we find out at the end of this chapter, which is a pretty big twist, is that the older woman is actually the little girl in the future, and she came into the past because she knew that she had to do that to make the little girl be able to take the extra step and say, you know what, I am not gonna stay here and be a sacrifice, but I'm gonna live my life. So she does that. She goes with the little boy and the man, and they go into this adventure. Chapter 2 and chapter 3 are Chapter 2 is pretty much them going into another god and finding out what an Oni is, which is, you know, man. When a human decides to eat human flesh, they become these demon man-eater type of deal, and essentially it's not a good thing, so they go berserk, and there's a whole story there. We find out secrets of the other characters as well in this chapter, which is pretty interesting. And then chapter 3, our boys are actually stuck into a spell, specifically drinking. They end up being seduced by a god, and not really a god, but the god's power, and they start turning into monkeys, and it's really up to the girl to save them, and she does, but the way she does is hilarious, at the same time very dangerous, and we find out that she is a lot bolder than we think. And again, to each its own, but I see it as very bold. Obviously, when they're saved, the guy's like, all these things could have happened, and if you just did one wrong move, like you just barely survive. You don't realize what it is to go into the God's realm. So yeah, pretty good volume. I like the story. The characters themselves, the gods themselves, they're very much believable of what a god to that extent would be. Someone who has always had control of their land and their people, and now they don't have that much power but still have that ego. That type of character is kind of hard to create but also portray, and I think they did a good job in portraying them as who they were, and their weaker versions, because they do have weaker versions, at least in the last chapter. It's cute. They're very cute, and then when you see like the full-blown version of them, it's like, oh gosh, he's a massive god. So yeah, it's just interesting how the whole essence of that happens, how they gain more power with people having hope and worship them as well. So yeah, it's interesting story. Don't know what direction it's going, because the whole point of the first chapter is the girl went back to the future, and we just see them still adventuring. So did they eventually achieve their goals? I don't know. I hope so. But maybe it's just a never-ending adventure. So, oh well. Guys, that is it for this review. Let me know what you guys think. Give some love to Yempress. Again, thank you so much for sending me this copy. Check them out online, yempress.com. They have a lot of stuff there for you guys to check out, and where to buy them at different price ranges. So check all the websites, because sometimes you find some good specials. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you haven't done so by now, subscribe to my channel, give some love by commenting, liking, and sharing, and I will see you guys next time. Like always, don't be strangers. See you guys.